Good morning. You're watching All You Need to Know on Bloomberg Quint, India's first live streaming digital news service. I am Jayesh Khilnani. Alongside me is Agam Vakil to take us through the F&O space. But first, the trade setup. Well, the US market, if you have a look, closed positive and extended gains. In fact, all three indices, Dow Jones, Nasdaq and S&P 500, that closed more than 1% higher. The Dow Jones is now merely trading just 3.4% away from its lifetime high. As far as the European indices are concerned, we had a positive close for the major European indices as well. And if you have a look at the Asian indices, in fact, the Nikkei 225 has extended gains and is now trading more than 1% higher, with the Hong Kong, Hang Seng trading about 200 points higher for itself. The SGX Nifty 2 is trading about 0.5% higher for itself, with a gain of about 50 points and suggesting an opening very close to the 10,650 mark. As far as the Indian ADRs are concerned, we had a positive close for most of them except for the IT pack. But the stock to watch out for would be Tata Motors. That gained more than 3% for itself, and Vedanta, Dr. Reddy's gained more than 1% each. The banking names, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank, too closed positive. But I was mentioning about the IT space not doing well. Wipro and Infosys, that closed more than 1% lower. Now, as far as fund flows are concerned, or let's have a look at how the commodity space has actually planned out. So if you have a look at the oil prices, WTI is trading very close to the 64 per barrel mark, and Brent is trading above 67.50 for itself. In fact, Brent has extended gains to 5 days in a row now. As far as the metals are concerned, gold prices have inched up 2 days in a row and trading very close to the 1340 per ounce mark. As far as the base metals are concerned, the LME base metal index itself closed about marginally higher, 0.3% gain over there as well. But individual base metals closed mixed. So you had nickel and lead, which actually gained more than 1% each, with tin declining about 0.2%. The other gainers, we had copper and zinc, which gained for itself, and aluminium closed flat for itself. Now, if you look at the Shanghai Futures Exchange, we are getting mixed cues from there as well. So we have zinc and steel, which are trading higher, while we have copper and aluminium, which are trading lower for itself. Now, if you look at the fund flows that we had for the Indian markets, the same story continues over there as well. FIIs, they sold more than 1,100 crores. While the domestic institutions bought more than 1,400 crores. For the month itself also, the foreign institutions have sold nearly 9,000 crores and the domestic institutions have bought in excess of 15,000 crores worth of equity. As far as some of the key indices are concerned, we had the mid-cap and the small-cap index eke out gains of 0.7 to 0.6%. But mind you that this was lower than what the broader market did, namely the Nifty and the Nifty Bank itself. As far as sector gainers are concerned, we had Nifty Auto surged more than 2%, and the Nifty Realty Index, that surged more than 3% for itself. The IT pack did not do well, and the index itself closed about 1.2% in the red, and we'll have to watch out for those stocks as well. As far as individual stocks are concerned, that contributed to Nifty's gain of about 90 odd points. We had HDFC Bank lead the way, followed by L&T, Maruti and Kotak Mahindra Bank. The IT names, Infosys and TCS, that contributed on the downside to the Nifty, so definitely to watch out for. But Agam, what are the F&O cues suggesting?
Sure. So we did see the Nifty move up above the mark of 10,500 once again. In fact, inching towards 10,600 right now. And what we've seen is a lot of longs building into the system for now as far as the Nifty goes. And the Bank Nifty also has seen an accumulation towards the longs with an increase of as much as 2.5% in open interest. The India Volatility Index, however, has fallen as one might expect now below the mark of 14. And it is within that stability band, as analysts put it, between 13.5 and 14.5. What we've also seen is the put-call ratio remain largely unchanged at around 1.46. But when it comes to options, we've seen the most amount of activity around the 10,500 and 10,600 mark. We would have seen more writing in the 10,500 and 600 puts and unwinding in the 10,500 calls, considering the fact that we saw the Nifty move up about that level. Oriental Bank of Commerce moves into the F&O band, considering the surge towards shorts building in, considering the stock fell by as much as 10.4%. And we're keeping an eye on something like an Interglobe Aviation, which saw fresh longs. Similarly, Reliance Communications also saw fresh longs building in. So those are some of the stocks that we'll be keeping an eye on. But that's as far as our own market is concerned. Moving on and to take a look at what's happening in the US now, as the new Fed chief Jerome Powell takes charge, the question arising here is whether he'll be able to stick to the gradual path of rate hikes. Here's Bloomberg's Kathleen Hayes on what the new Fed chief is probably thinking.
I think it's safe to say that Jay Powell is not just thinking about volatility in Asian bond and currency markets. He's thinking in volatility in U.S. markets and basically around the world. He's going up before the House Financial Services Committee. Of course, this is his first testimony as chair of the Federal Reserve, so it's a very important one. We already have the monetary policy report from Friday. But the question, of course, is can Jay Powell stay on Janet Yellen's gradual rate hike path if these tax cuts go through, if they boost the economy as much as some economists say they will, and especially if they start boosting inflation. Let's take a quick look at hashtag BTV 4608. I'd like to throw this in the mix because what you're looking at is the blue line, inflation coming steadily down, 4.1%, and along the bottom you see inflation, the core deflator, one of the Fed's main measures, has gradually risen. And I think how these curves go in the weeks and months ahead are going to determine how aggressive Jay Powell has to be. Jim Bullard, president of the St. Louis Fed, speaking at the National Association for Business Economics today, said his concern now, actually he's happy to see inflation rising a bit and inflation expectations. He's getting concerned the Fed could go a little too far on rates, a little too fast. And again, that's the kind of sentiment, that's the kind of concern that if that starts spreading around the world, I think it's going to reverberate in a lot of markets, including Asia.
Stock of the day is Coffee Day Enterprises. So, the promoter Malvika Hegde has bought in 2.6% stake in the company, has bought in 55 lakh shares, but then has purchased the stake for a value of 178 crore. And KKR Mauritius, one of the promoter group entity, has also sold in a 5.9% stake in the company at a price of 324 per share. If you look at the shareholding pattern that we have, promoter shareholding stood at 51.32% as per the December shareholding, while the public shareholding stood at a good 49%. Promoter shareholding in the company over the last 1 year has come down to 51.32 from 53.87% that we've seen in the December quarter ended 2016. KKR Mauritius has been was holding a good 10.33% stake as per the December shareholding pattern. To give you a little rundown about what the company is, the owner and the operator of cafe chains with a market capitalization of 6,727 odd crore. It has a low return of equity, at least in the last 3 years that we've seen, fetched a negative return of 2.15%, and the promoters have pledged 54.60% of their overall holding. If you look at the financials of the company, sales figure, you would say for the 9-month ended, we've seen a growth of 19%. Operational performance has seen a growth of 12%, and margins somehow have remained stable. However, the net profit due to one-time adjustment that we've seen in one of the quarters have shot up by 118%. With that, let's toss it over to Saloni for currency market updates.
Thanks for that, Nikki. So the rupee yesterday failed to hold on to its early gains and ended 0.1% lower at 64.79 levels against the dollar. Now the rupee ended lower despite a rally in the local equities market along with sluggish dollar overseas, as overall forex market sentiment turned volatile after a sudden spike in crude oil prices. Now speaking of the bond market, sovereign bonds declined yesterday for a 6th day in 7 trading sessions on expectations that the latest GDP figures will show a faster pace of growth, thereby increasing pressure on the central bank to increase interest rates in the near term. Now, speaking of the bond market, again, the yield on the new 10-year benchmark security yesterday rose by 2 basis points to end at 7.69%. In terms of flows, global funds increased their rupee debt holdings yesterday and they infused close to 180 crores according to NSDL data. While on the global front, Asian currencies were trading higher, with South Korean won and Japanese yen gaining the most. Well, speaking of the dollar index, it ended steady after falling as much as 0.4% yesterday. Now, the index trades low for the second consecutive session today. It trades near 89.70 levels in the early Asian hours. Well, traders do remain cautious ahead of the new Fed chair testimony today. Now, it will remain a key watch for the currency market, and it could determine that the dollar could recover from its 3-year low, and it will sustain in the near term. Well, lastly, coming back home, dollar rupee is trading flat in the non-deliverable forward market, which indicates a flat opening for Indian rupee in today's trade.
Punjab National Bank has disclosed an additional fraud of $204 million, or close to 1,300 crores. So that means that the value of the Nirav Modi fraud is now pegged at about 12,700 crores. The impact of the earlier fraud amount was said to be, or estimated, at about 15 to 20% of FY19 book value by brokerages. So this will only mean a further dent to the financials. So we could see some negative reaction on Punjab National Bank. Lots more to understand in terms of why the bank management has indicated a higher amount. But that apart, we are also tracking PVR in trade. Now, according to a Bloomberg news report, IMAX has reported a new 5-theatre pact with the company. Also, watch out for Monet Ispat. Now, there's a ET report which says that creditors have approved the ION JSW offer for the company. Now, according to that offer, they will make a payment of 2,450 crores to lender, and there'll also be an additional equity funding of 1,050 crores. So you could see some positive reaction coming in on Monet Ispat. That apart, we're also tracking Mahindra & Mahindra, where the company has joined hands with Korea's LG Chemicals for lithium ion battery technologies, which will be applied for India only. That apart, we're also looking out for Sagar Cements, where the company will acquire hydropower units of 4.3 megawatts in Andhra Pradesh for about 27 crores. And last, what we're tracking in trade is Berger Paints, where they have said that they have plans to set up an integrated paint plant in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, but the capex details have not yet been shared. But these are some of the stocks you need to keep an eye out for.
Now, the PMLA court has allowed the Enforcement Directorate to issue a letter rogatory to 6 countries in the Nirav Modi case. Now, what is a letter rogatory? A letter rogatory is a formal request from a court to a foreign court seeking judicial assistance. The LR will be issued to judicial authorities in 6 countries, which are USA, UK, Hong Kong, UAE, South Africa and Singapore. Now, ED claimed in court that almost rupees 6,500 crores was siphoned off to set up companies and also to buy properties overseas. Now, the ED also argued that Nirav Modi established companies like Diamonds R Us and Firestar International, and also said that he is an integrated diamond manufacturer who bought rough diamonds, polished them and then sold them overseas. Now, after this, this request will be sent by the Ministry of External Affairs to other countries.
Ambuja Cement Board for now had decided not to pursue the merger with ACC and has decided and has given the reason as some constraints which have been holding off the company. But then the ultimate goal will be to merge of the 2 entities. That's the larger picture that the company has been talking about. A special committee of directors was formed back in May 2017 to explore the possibility of the merger, and post the evaluation study which has been submitted by these directors, the merger at this point of time seems to be put on hold. In other highlights, the Ambuja Cement Board of Directors in the filing stated that the agreement has been signed with ACC for the purchase and sale of their products and services. This is based on the mutual agreement terms for both the companies and is expected to maximize synergies and unlock additional value for the shareholders. Also, some of the more details will be revealed, will be shared in the postal ballot. If you look at what Motilal Oswal has to say, it says that the constraint apparently that they're talking about could be the limestone transfer charge of rupees 64 per ton and the stamp charges. However, they say that the pact of sale between the ACC and Ambuja for sale and for their products and services seem to be difficult right now. The synergies that they stated back in 2013 to the tune of 900 crore right now seems to be difficult. It has not been realized in the last 4 to 5 years, and that ACC and Ambuja will continue to lose market market share to Shree Cement and Ultratech Cement, given the absence of capacity addition and the kind of strong demand that we're witnessing right now. IDBI Capital Market brokerage report suggests that the merger, calling off the merger for right now, seems to be a negative to neutral. Neutral because the merger has been put on hold and not been called off completely. Negative because ACC trades at a comparatively lower valuation as compared to Ambuja. So the kind of a favorable exchange swap agreement that we were expecting, which would have resulted into the kind of merger, the merger arbitrage would not come through. So that's something which is negative. Credit Suisse on merger call off being put on hold right now says that the synergies have been delayed, and this seems to be a negative, sentimentally negative for the sector overall. It, however, says that Ambuja has already taken over a good stake, a controlling stake in ACC, and still has not realized the kind of synergies which was expected, which would have happened only if the complete merger would have come through. It suggested that this development is weaker than what the market was anticipating, because out of 900 crore of the stated synergies in CY13 that the company had put out in the presentation, of that, less than that was supposed to come from the material swaps. So this also, one more brokerage adding to the view and saying it is a negative development.
The government has asked Hindustan Unilever to submit additional documents to verify claims made by the consumer goods major as to how it earned rupees 119 crore for the month of November and December. The government has sought information so that it can cross-verify the calculations made by the company to compute rupees 119 crore as the profited sum by HUL in the month of November and December. Remember HUL had declared that it earned rupees 60 crore in November as profiteering and 59 crore in the month of December, which it itself declared to the government that this is the sum that the company had earned due to the implementation of GST. Now the DG Safeguard has asked the company to submit documents to prove or verify how it came to this calculation of rupees 119 crore as the profited sum. The company confirmed this and told Bloomberg Quint that DG Safeguard has sought additional information and the methodology adopted by the company to compute the profited amount, and the company is in the process of sharing this information. Another interesting thing that the company told Bloomberg Quint is that it is anticipating a profit made due to GST in the month of January as well, and it is in the process of computing and the company is in the process of computing the same and would share the details in due course of time.
Well, on to some stocks that could react based on the delivery buying and selling as of yesterday. The first stock that we are tracking is Reliance Communication. That gained nearly 7.8% as of yesterday's close, and saw delivery buying of nearly 66 crores. The delivery volume surged 114% at more than 2 crore shares as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume surged 119% at about 16 crore shares as compared to its 5-day average. The second stock that we are watching out for is Sterlite Tech. Yesterday it gained about 6%, saw delivery value of about 53 crores. The delivery volume surged 112% at about 14 lakh shares as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume surged about 162% at about 45 lakh shares as compared to its 5-day average. The last and final stock to watch out for is Persistent Systems. Yesterday it gained about 5.5%, saw delivery buying of nearly 54 crores. The delivery volume surged about 106% and 6.5 lakh shares as compared to its 5-day average, and the total volume surged about 130% at about 11.6 lakh shares as compared to its 5-day average.
On the big brokerage calls for the day, first we have is JPMORGAN on Ashok Leyland. Now the brokerage has upgraded the stock to overweight from neutral and has raised the target price to 160 from 130. The brokerage is expecting double-digit volume growth from the medium and heavy commercial vehicle segment. Now these high volumes would normalize the discounts and thus improve the margins for the company despite higher commodity costs. Now they're expecting the company's EPS to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 23% over FY 18 to 20. The general freight demand and infrastructure spending is expected to be positive for the next 2 years, and the bus demand is expected to make a comeback in financial year 2019. Lastly, it says that the valuations are cheaper and operating leverage on higher sales should drive the earnings upgrade for Ashok Leyland going forward. Second we have is Deutsche Bank on Gujarat State Petronet. Now the brokerage has maintained its buy rating on the stock but has raised the target price to 255 from 249. Now the brokerage is expecting the gas volume growth to continue for Gujarat State Petronet. It is expecting the gas transmission volumes to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 12% over FY17 to FY20. Now brokerage is also expecting the gas transmission tariff to be revised upwards by around 20% by June 2018. Lastly, it says that the financial year 2018 is turning out to be the inflection point for the gas transmission business of Gujarat State Petronet, and currently Gujarat State Petronet is the cheapest Indian gas utility stock with strong earnings growth outlook.
Elections in northeast India continue with Nagaland and Meghalaya going to the polls today. Both state assemblies have a total of 60 seats each, but voting will be held in 59 constituencies in each of the two states. While the death of an NCP candidate in Williamnagar, that's in Meghalaya, has delayed polling there, NDPP chief Nephew Rio has already been elected unopposed from the northern Angami 2 constituency in Nagaland. Voting for the assembly polls in the neighbouring state of Tripura took place on the 18th of February. Results for all the three states will be declared on the 3rd of March. Well, the PNB fraud case is still in focus, and you'll find that and a lot more being discussed on Bloomberg Quint Live over the course of the day. And if you log on to the website bloombergquint.com, you'll find several stories that you can read. Here are just a few of them. As many as 11 companies bid for the government order to set up 2,000 electric vehicle chargers in government offices. The companies include BHEL and Siemens. The order to install chargers follows the one for electric vehicles. This is a bid by the government to popularize use of electric vehicle technology. Hinduja Group is considering buying a majority stake in Mobank, which is a state-owned bank in Mauritius. And in international news, the US Supreme Court rejected a Trump administration appeal aimed at ending deportation protections for young undocumented immigrants. Before we end, here's Sumit Bagadia of A Choice Broking on the road ahead for the Nifty as well as the Bank Nifty.
We are expecting move till 650-700 levels, so one can initiate long positions in Nifty at the current market price. If because of volatility there is a dip of around 20 to 30 points from present levels, then that should be used as a buying opportunity. Downside, immediate support 10,500 levels, overall support 10,450 levels. So one can initiate long for the targets of 10,650 and 10,700 levels. On the other side, Bank Nifty is also looking good. It has given a good closing today. 25,700 closing is approximately near 25,700 levels. From here on, we can see a move around 250 to 300 points. That means high side 26,000 can be the target. And on downside, one can maintain stop loss of around 25,400 levels. So index is looking good to me for next 2 to 3 days.
Well, that's all you need to know going into trade today. Thanks so much for watching. Up next is Indian Open, and that will take you through Market Open. This is Bloomberg Quint.